The secret of growth. The Carl Renberg and Nutrilite story reports that on September 1, 1945, Renberg signed the exclusive agreement with Mittinger and Castleberry, quote, that was drawn up in anticipation of rapid growth, addressing contingencies relating to size and volume. The story does not explain why there would have been cause for, quote, anticipation of rapid growth, except to imply that all along it was just more effective sales management that had been needed for Nutrilite to suddenly become an exploding sales phenomenon. Even if the sales management factor were that important, the story does not account for why it would have been assumed that a former cemetery plot salesman who had not done sales work in 5 years and a psychology counselor with 2 part-time jobs warranted a presumption of stupendous success. The plan, the only new element in the business, is not referenced as the cause for this presumption of growth. Yet, as events unfold, a monumental expansion in accordance with the plan's explosive mathematical design does indeed ignite. The plan, in theory, could cause 40 agents to expand to a point where, quote, everyone on earth would eventually be selling the product, as Mittinger was quoted. In fact, 40 agents worked for Nutrilite at the moment of signing on September 1, 1945. In the first 8 months of 1945, prior to the contract signing and implementation of the plan, Nutrilite averaged monthly revenue of about $2,000, indicating a mean average sales volume per distributor of $50 per month in 1945 dollars. The highest estimated commission paid based on sales volume was 40%, or $20 per month on average, before deducting all expenses. The Nutrilite product offering had clearly never demonstrated much of an income opportunity for Renberg or for his 40 distributors. Suddenly, in the 4 months following the contract signing between Renberg, Mittinger, and Castleberry, revenues increased to more than $8,500 per month, resulting in 1945 annual revenues more than doubling from the previous year to $50,000. But this was only a spark for the firestorm of expansion that followed. In gross data, the first 9 years of Nutrilite's explosive launch under the plan appeared to show a powerful organic growth on a foundation of year after year success. In reality, Nutrilite was not growing in the sense most people understand how a large company develops by building a larger and larger base of loyal customers. Nutrilite's explosive increase in revenue merely reflected that pyramid recruiting was strongly outpacing the rate of quitting. In just 16 months, Mittinger and Castleberry's plan catapulted Renberg's little business from monthly retail revenues of $2,000 to more than $60,000 per month. It did this without changing the lineup or the pricing of the company's products or carrying out a significant advertising program. And despite a scandal that engulfed the company starting in 1949, when it was prosecuted by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration for making false health claims, Nutrilite's sales just kept growing explosively. By 1950, sales reached 9.7 million, then 12.5 million in 1951, hitting 25.2 million in 1954. The expansion was unrelated to the product, pricing, or its sullied reputation. In the annals of sales, this is an astonishing event, but especially so for those involved in labor-intensive door-to-door selling and the vitamin businesses. Predictably, the plan was quickly carbon copied with the similar amazing growth results for imitators. How or why becoming a Nutrilite distributor would suddenly become so appealing to so many people is not addressed in the mythic account. Renborg's personal life blossomed with the business, and he quickly found a new wife, put his son back in private school, and bought a new house. An avoidance of the pyramid factor in explaining Nutrilite's overnight success is the likely reason Renborg's biography documents the growth figures of Nutrilite only up to 1954. In those first 9 years after implementing the plan, Nutrilite's revenue exploded an astounding 50,000%. But court data from a government prosecution of Nutrilite show that immediately after the period, Nutrilite's growth drastically slowed and then steeply declined. From 1952 to 1954, revenues went up more than 100%. But in the next 2 years, 54 to 56, revenue rose just 5%. In the next 2 years, 56 to 58, revenue declined 28%, wiping out the previous 5 years of increases. The trend of decline continued at Nutrilite another 6 years, to where revenue in 1964 was less than 1950. Factoring inflation, Nutrilite's reported retail revenue in 1964 was less than 1/3 what it had generated in 1956. When the company was sold to Amway in 1972, factoring inflation, Nutrilite's reported retail revenues at the time were half what it generated 18 years before. The revenue pattern of Nutrilite, showing almost unheard of and inexplicable growth, followed by a similarly inexplicable steep decline, is now known as pop and drop, a universal phenomenon among multi-level marketing enterprises, and one of the telltale signs that MLM bears no resemblance to direct selling. What appears to be growth is an illusion. There is no underlying foundation of customers or sales force. The extreme pop and drop phenomenon is inherent to the math and the mechanics of the plan, making the pattern inevitable, one of the secrets of the pyramid to be militantly guarded with diversion and rationalization. The promise of unlimited rewards created a chain letter mania of Nutrilite recruiting, but built no foundation of stable salespeople or steady retail customers. When the salespeople quit, generally their customers, if they had any, were lost also. There were no territories to take over when the new recruit joined the business, and no existing customer list to build upon. The company could not stay viable without relentless recruiting to replace an enormous turnover of the losers it manufactured with assembly line precision. The recruiting process of pyramid selling, unlike that of direct selling, was not a factor of labor related to the storied hardships of personal sales. There was no broad base of salespeople gaining modest but viable income. MLM recruiting was instead an existential function to offset continuous collapse as the lower ranks, which sourced most of the revenue, disappeared each year and never returned. It was not surprising, therefore, that soon after Nutrilite's decline set in from the late 1950s, 2 of Nutrilite's top recruiters defected and started a new company directly copying Nutrilite's now proven plan. That first defection and duplication of Nutrilite set the pattern that has not changed to today and has produced thousands of new MLMs. All of them are copies of Nutrilite. The defectors broke off to form a new company that was to be called Amway, destined to become the world's largest MLM and the progenitor of many more MLM clones. In 1972, Amway would acquire Nutrilite, absorb its diminished force of recruiters, and incorporate the Nutrilite potions into its product mix. The role of Nutrilite ends in the MLM drama. Amway quickly takes center stage. Most important to the untold story of multi-level marketing, and as will be shown in the next chapter, it will be Amway's founders that make MLM legal, the most important development in MLM's worldwide spread. As top recruiters for Nutrilite, the Amway founders witnessed how Nutrilite, using clever legal maneuverings, survived the FDA prosecution for making dangerously false medical claims without actually changing its false claims. Using its own legal maneuverings and powerful backroom lobbying, Amway will survive pyramid fraud prosecution without actually changing its pyramid practices.